I have a confession to make. I never really had a mentor as a software dev. I had moments throughout my career where I had like a specific manager who was really helpful and would push me to go in the right way. But I never had a person I could confidently hit up and be like, yo, I'm struggling with this. Can you help me out? And I honestly think it's a big part of why I've been as successful as I've been. Software dev's not about who you know. It's certainly not about who you've convinced to help you out. Software dev is entirely about how well you handle failure. And I find that people looking for mentors are often trying to avoid that failure. I have seen this pattern so often, primarily in my DMs, where I get, still to this day, at least a couple people a week asking me, hey, Theo, will you be my mentor? Well, depending on how you define mentor, there's two options that are valid. Either I already am your mentor because you're learning a bunch from my content, or the thing you're asking is stupid because I can't possibly dedicate a bunch of time to random people in my audience. That doesn't work. Come on, be realistic. So let's talk a bit about mentorship, what it means, and where you can actually find opportunities to grow that involve others helping you out. Because I'm really tired of this question. And honestly, I just need a video to link to. I know this is going to bomb in the algorithm. I don't care. I have important things to say, and I hope the right people listen. The first thing you need to understand is how expensive mentorship is. I'm lucky that I found a way to educate people that's quite a bit cheaper. I can sit here and spend a little bit of time making a video, and then I or my team can edit this and put it on YouTube, and then thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of developers can benefit from it. That's huge. But when it comes to actually helping a person individually learn and build skills, it takes more time, often with less results. Because now I am dedicating a bunch of my time to understanding you, what you need, what isn't working for you, and then how to communicate specific stuff. That's difficult. That's really, really difficult. And it takes a ton of time to just figure out what an individual needs, much less actually delivering that thing to them. And what do I get for it? I'm not trying to be super selfish here and say, yeah, you don't deserve me as a resource. In fact, you do. You're getting it right now. I want to provide help to as many people as I can. That's why I spend way too much time making this content. I promise you, I'm not doing this for the money because I could have made way more sticking with my engineering career or just focusing on my business. I do this because I have this deep desire to just talk about code stuff the way that I liked to and the way that I used to when I had my old job. I learned primarily from my lunch conversations at Twitch, being surrounded by engineers who just were smarter than me and more experienced than me, and hearing all of the things they had to say, hearing their thoughts on new technologies or recent outages or whatever the hell they were working on at that time. The amount that I learned just being there was incredible. And that's what I'm trying to provide here. It was great almost as a method of exposure to show me the way these things worked and how people used and thought of them. And if I just copied the things they said or thought, it would have actually been worse for me. But the opportunity not just to see someone present their way of thinking about a thing, but another equally experienced person pushing back on it and seeing those conversations unfold helped me better figure out where I was and build my own stances on these same things. If I had a mentor, I would never have gotten that value. I instead would have just done what they told me. And this is the big problem I see with people seeking mentors, is that both sides kind of get screwed. The mentee looking for someone to help them out, they're just going to follow whatever that person says. And even if they instinctively disagree, it's not their place as the mentee to disagree. I hate that relationship for that reason, because now the likelihood they find what's right for them is actually lower, not higher. I know from my experience, when trying to help other devs contribute, I could spend an hour solving a problem, or I could spend 2 hours in a call with them, and then 3 days reviewing their code back and forth to solve the same problem. Mentorship is incredibly expensive as a dev, as a YouTuber, as a community lead, and just as an individual. And that doesn't mean no one's going to be willing to do that work for free. However, it does mean the quality of those people isn't going to be great. This isn't to say you can't learn from these communities and being part of these places. Hey, Theo, I'm working on this project. I'm using these technologies you talk about. This one piece is hard for me to understand. Any advice on how I could understand that a bit better? Absolutely. You'll almost certainly get a response from me or someone from my team at that point. But you need to be respectful of the people that you're asking for this help from. The problem with a mentor-mentee relationship is that they expect the mentor to drive. That doesn't work in most fields, and it certainly doesn't work in software because, as I mentioned before, you're going to be failing a lot. And you need to get really good at pushing through those failures, not leaning on others when they happen. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a support group of people to talk to when things are hard. This is actually why I'm so positive on both university and boot camps, because being surrounded by peers experiencing the same things makes those moments feel much less lonely. But mentorship isn't a thing you should go to because you feel lonely, and it's not a thing you should go to because you feel lost. These are things you need to figure out yourself. And I know it sucks. Absolutely does. And I've made a bunch of content about parts of how to get through it. But the big key piece is that you set good goals. And I want to be a programmer, or I want to learn JavaScript. Those aren't good goals. They should be much more specific around things you already understand. For me, the goal was I wanted to host a Minecraft server where my friends couldn't break my shit. In order to have that goal, I had to learn the basics of Git, of Java, of server hosting, of crazy SSH and Tmux GNU screen stuff. And as painful as those things were, I learned so much because I knew what it looked like when it was working. I didn't know what the parts were or how those worked yet, but I knew the result I was aiming for. And by focusing on that and learning what I had to build it, I was able to get something I was proud of much faster, even if I didn't understand the pieces. And then I could go into those communities, see what people were talking about, do my best to infer the context and what's going on. And eventually, and I'll admit it took too long, but eventually start asking questions about those things. And at that point, anyone can be your mentor because they're not mentoring you. They're part of a community that you're now becoming a member of. And if to you, mentorship is the ability to ask questions about the things you're learning, then I guess I'm being mentored constantly every day. But if that's what you're looking for, you don't find it by, again, randomly DMing people. You find it by being involved enough in showing your work. That's an important theme I really want to dive into here. The idea of showing your work. I already have a video about why you shouldn't contribute to open source, and I'm scared it's going to lead people the wrong way here. It's important to share what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you got where you are. Don't just spam the world with links to random commits that are you learning how React works. But if someone's working on a cool project or technology and you're interested in it, go make a demo using it. Maybe post that online like, hey, I thought Tanstack Router was really cool, so I built a demo where I used it for this thing. That's awesome. And then if you hit me up like, hey, Theo, I was trying out Tanstack Router. I ran into this problem. Here's a link to the exact code where I had the problem. I would love your thoughts if you're down. My response is probably going to be, hey, sorry, I don't know Tanstack that well. Go send it to these guys. But at least you'll get a response from me at that point. You got to show you've put the effort in though. And when I see the message, can you be my mentor? I see someone who has fallen behind asking me to catch them up. And I have bad news. No individual is going to catch you up. That's your problem. And it sucks. I'm not saying it doesn't suck. I'm not saying any of this doesn't suck. I'm saying pushing through the suck is what makes you a great engineer and what will make you successful in this field. You have to be willing to set these goals and learn on your own and show that you've learned on your own. One of my favorite things I'll regularly see from this community is a person who is surprisingly either new to the industry or young, hitting me up with really deep, informed questions about the stuff that they're working on. And I'll just be really impressed with how well they know the thing, say, that's awesome, let's chat about it more, and then learn that they've only been coding for 2 years. Look at somebody like Ethan Nicer, who by almost any measurement, I've been a mentor for. He was one of the earliest members of the community. He was always sharing really cool stuff. I'll never forget when he randomly DM'd me the link to Next TypeSafe URL, which took the things I'd been preaching around full stack type safety and brought them to the router, which I had never seen anyone do before. And he was doing that in Next well before any other framework had these features implemented, which was so cool. Since then, he's built his own stack, the Beth stack, and he made a YouTube channel where he talks about that. He talks about Effect TS and all these other things that he was interested in that I just happened to not be as interested in. And rather than convince me to make the video, he just went and did it himself. And he didn't ask me, how do I start making videos, or how do I get started, or even should I do this? He asked if I was going to make a video about a thing. I said no, and he ran off and did it himself. And that is so cool to me. There's nothing better than seeing someone take the right lessons from you and apply them in really cool ways. And the stuff he has done is incredible. I'm genuinely really proud of him. And he's one of dozens of people from this community I feel that way about. I didn't respond to Ethan because he was looking for a mentor. I responded to Ethan because he hit me up with something exciting that he got excited about himself, that he built himself from what he learned in this community. His success didn't come from me dedicating a bunch of time to helping him out. His success came from him learning the right lessons from my videos, from my chat, from my Discord, from all these other places, and applying them in a way that was exciting, not just to me, but to the hundreds of thousands of people who have watched his videos now. That excitement and that energy is a really important thing to try and find, and you will not get that from someone else pushing you. That has to come from within. And I find a lot of people who are actively seeking mentors are the people who didn't find it in themselves. That doesn't mean you can't, but it means you really need to put effort in. And you might not find that by obsessing over individual technologies, but you need to find something that drives you. Another person will never be the reason you become a successful developer. They might be one of the tools in your toolbox as you get there, but you need to define that path yourself and then realize it's wrong and change course 6 to 24 times as you figure out what being a dev means to you. But none of that is my problem. So get the hell out of my DMs until you have something interesting to show me. I I'm sorry to be as frank as I am about that, but it's important. You shouldn't be seeking mentorship. You should be seeking interesting things to do and talk about that drive you through these hard parts. Because until you get over that failure, until you get over that instinct of failure bad, need to avoid, and you learn to lean into it and learn from it and apply your lessons and share them, until you're there, being a dev's gonna suck. It's gonna suck hard because we all fail constantly. And I can't do anything about that. I can't help you through the things that you need if you're looking for a mentor. You have to do that. And once you've pushed through that, you'll naturally find yourself working on really interesting things. And I'm confident at that point, we'll have a lot to talk about. But until then, you don't need my permission to learn. Just go learn, go build stuff, and come back when you have cool things to share. Appreciate you a ton as always. I have a video in the corner where I talk more in depth on why your goals suck and how to set better ones. So check that out if you haven't already. I link it in half my videos, so you probably saw it. Anyways, see you guys in the next one. Peace, nerds.